Hello, hello. I am back. It is Friday rather than Sunday, but you did get an off day video from me last week, so I'm doing better at keeping up with my weekly jaunts on YouTube. So today I wanted to show you a couple of things I'm working on and some fabric that I acquired in my thrifting jaunts. So you know I've been making these mini Trader Joe totes. I call them smuggler shell totes because, as you know, when I am not sewing, I am working for Hondo Onaka at a legitimate business, by the way. But since we used to be smugglers, I figured, you know, smuggler shell, Trader Joe's, you know, similar. Anyway, I had a little bit of fabric left over that I had actually pieced together to make a quilt a little while back. And I found a little bit of it that I was able to put together for the bottom of one of the smuggler shell totes, right? To be like that. And the handles, which I made a little larger with some seam binding that I had available. Now what's really fun about these is I had only one little Mickey on each of the handles, so it's kind of like a hidden Mickey mini tote. So these will go together like, excuse me, I'm gonna hide behind you for a little bit, like this, right? Yay! This is gonna be great. I'll get that done today. And I had some beautiful red polka dot lining, compliments of my big sis Marcy, that will go on the inside. It's really kind of cool because you've got a little hidden Mickey, black and white. You've got the red, kind of looks a little bit like Minnie's skirt. So that is my ode to Disney's 70th anniversary, which we are celebrating this year. So just have to get the pockets done on the top, sew those on, get my logo stamp on there, and it'll be all done. All right, so for the thrifted fabric I really scored because I got some fabric from Quilt Corner in Ithaca, New York. I will put contact information for them down below. I did not go to New York for this. I actually found this in Southern California. But I got two bundles. One is a reddish pink bundle and one is a green blue bundle with a little bit of kind of purplish and red and blue plaid in there. How cool is this? They are fat quarters and there are 4, 8, 20, 21 fat quarters in each. The fabric is kind of it's cotton, but it reminds me of like an East Indian madras. So we'll see what that turns into. I have no idea. I get these things and it'll brew in the back of my mind and then I'll come up with something interesting. I think they're too thin to use for bags. I think making them into strips for some kind of a wild, fun in the round or quilt as you go in my fashion quilt would be cool. The other thing I found, I think I might have shown you this a couple of weeks ago, but I got a package of painter's cloth. Okay, this is drop cloth. It's canvas. It's 8-ounce canvas. You can get a package of this, several yards, for less, it turns out to be less than $3 a yard, and you can get it at any hardware store. I got mine at the local Ace hardware store, which I love to promote because even though Ace is a big, huge company, they do set up their local hardware stores in a very local fashion. And I can find anything there. It reminds me of a hardware store that we had in my hometown, Renton, Washington, back in the day, McClendon Hardware Store. And I'm going to just do a shout out to my best friend in the whole world, Carrie, whom I grew up with, and her family ran that family-owned hardware store forever. It's sad that it is no longer McClendon's, but we had great memories hanging out there when we were little kids. And support your local hardware store, that's all I can say. And then last week when I was out rummaging, I found several yards of some 4-ounce, I think it's 4-ounce, it might be 6-ounce canvas. Look at this. Gosh, this reminds me of something my mom would have made something out of. Look at that. So this will probably, it could be bags, it could be dungarees. I'm also looking at a chore coat pattern that, yes, I know I said I wasn't going to make quilted coats anymore, but I saw a quilt that I just fell in love with. It is hand stitched, and while it could still be of use on a bed, it just called to me. So I will be turning it into probably a couple of jackets in the near future. But I think these will become may become dungarees. It's a little heavier than the tablecloth fabric I've used, but not too heavy. It would be very comfortable. I think maybe a pair of dungarees out of one, and maybe a chore coat out of the other, and then a hat using both materials. How fun would that be? Then this was really cool. A while back, I think it was a couple years ago, I made a coat for another one of my dear friends, Glenda. I made it for her mom. I think it was her 90th birthday. Her mom loves ladybugs, and I managed to find a ladybug quilt. It was an Eric Carle quilt, and I turned it into a jacket. And I had a little bit of this that I was able to use on it as well. Well, let me tell you, I found a few yards of this and this yellow. So this is going to become something. I'm not sure yet. I think it's going to be a lap quilt, and I think it's going to be quilted in the round, kind of in a crazy way. And then I've got to find some backing, and I think the backing will be maybe some dark mermaid fabric I have. I also have some other fabric that was gifted to me by my big sis, Marcy. I think maybe even from my sister, Tony, not sure. But they've been very kind to send some things to me. I send some things to them. We use them, we make things out of them. In fact, I made something that was sent to, I think my sister Marcy. I think she got it today, I hope. And it was lined with some fabric that she had sent me a while back. So hopefully she recognizes that. My whole point of this entire video is that when you find things and make things from it, you give it new life. Instead of getting new stuff and then just, I don't know, getting rid of it or something, you find something that is gently used, that is still in great condition. And I don't use things that are trashed. I mean, if it's trashed, maybe it can be chewed up and recycled, but I try to use things that have been gently used. The one thing I won't do is I will not take an antique quilt and cut it up to make something out of it. And let me tell you why. I have two reasons. One is I'm pretty sure my maternal grandmother, Zula Dix, would haunt me from the grave for cutting up something that was at one time a valued family heirloom, no doubt. And for whatever reason, people gave it away. You can take these quilts and you can take them to a framer, have them folded and vacuum sealed in a shadow box, similar to what is done with the American flag for veterans, for the most part, in those triangular shadow boxes. Similar. And then it is vacuum sealed, it's protected from the elements, and you have something that you hang on the wall, and that can be passed down for generations as a memory. Somebody in the family made this, put this together for whatever reason. Maybe there's a story behind it, and you can find out what that story was. So that's the first reason. The second reason, and I'm very careful when I thrift, or as you say in Great Britain, go to charity shops and look for fabrics, is if it's really old. And okay, I'm in my 60s, so I think of things that are really old as being 40 years ago. You may think 20 years ago, but 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, and depending how it was stored, it may have been stored in a musty area. It may have some mold in it that you can't even see. It could have bugs. I mean, there's all sorts of things. Plus, the thread is compromised. When that thread is compromised and you use it for something else, it's getting like beaten up, and it's kind of like being put in a rock tumbler, okay? And then a person's wearing it, and those fibers that are already compromised get stretched and stretched. It's much more likely to fall apart. So somebody spends a lot of money on this garment you've made them out of an antique quilt. And I know there are people that have an antique quilt and they want something made out of it so they can wear it and remember the person who made it. I get that. But just remember that when you take that apart, put it back together again, you are compromising that thread, that fabric even more. So you may be better off not doing that and doing the first thing, which is having it framed, vacuum sealed and framed into a shadow box properly. Just saying. So I don't do it. Some people do. I've been asked to do it. I politely decline. It's just not something I'm going to do. And primarily for reason number one, again, don't want to be haunted by my grandmother. I try to honor her with the type of sewing I do. I don't use a serger. I do things by hand. I make sure the inside looks as good as the outside. It's just how I was taught. And her mother was a seamstress. Her little known, but her mother's family in Germany were tailors. And so I honor that by doing my best work. All right, so having said that, yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff behind me. Starbucks and Disney, and back here I've got one of the jackets I made for cosplay. If you don't know what the date, 5/25/1977 signifies, you're not a Star Wars fan. Anyway, speaking of Star Wars, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Episode 4 in 2027, and in next year, the Mandalorian movie comes out. So being somebody who works for Hondo, it's going to be active in the land, and I can't wait for it. Working on a new Grey Jedi cosplay costume for myself. I got a whole bunch of slubby, linen-y, cottony fabric that I'm going to turn into a new Jedi cloak, a tunic, and I may redo my pants. I'm not really sure. But anyway, that's exciting. So that's not going to be until December or January, because Season of the Force is, gosh, a whole 8 months away, but it's going to come up fast. Well, that's all I have for today. I'm going to get back to sewing. And no, I am not working on the Fair Isle vest today. It is in good hands. It's over here on my hat tree. I have a hat tree that I hang all my project bags on. This is a project bag I made out of a Pottery Barn pillow sham that was part of a set. But I do have the Fair Isle one of my bags. I was a professional photographer. It's my floral photographs. There's a photograph taken at the Bellevue Botanical Museum in Washington. If you live there and never have been there, you should go. Anyway, working on the armhole. See if I can get this up correctly. Let's see, armhole and front. I think I'm working on the armhole. No, I don't know what I'm working on. I'm working on the neck. So, working on the neck. And I have to go back and fix a couple things because I forgot about a certain part of the neck. But this is what it looks like at the neck and the armholes. I'm working on it. So, the bottom is very 1930s. They had deeper bottom ribbing back in the day. So anyway, that one I'll work on maybe tomorrow if it's cooler. It's just too hot today and I don't have air conditioning, so that's how it goes. You have an awesome day today. Get out there, get some sunshine. Do something positive for your community. Make an impact. It could be something as simple as being kind. It could be something like help out at your schools. It could be something like go to a protest or write some letters. I've got some postcards I'm going to be working on tomorrow, and sending out to some specific senators. You can probably guess who. So I've got my day planned out for tomorrow. I'm sure you do too. Have an awesome weekend and a good week this next week, and I'll see you in a few days.